Thank you, Emily. I'm outside the Emmy research reactor right now where I spoke with a Dr. David Robertson. Now I'm going to go ahead and have my camera zoom in for you right now. That's the facility right there where all the action happens. Robertson tells me amid a global isotope shortage due to a reactor shutdown in Europe, this facility right here is upping its production. Now, Mortensmeyer and Griggs both tell me, as you can see the ice behind me here, that there is a plan in place should something go wrong, but both of them say that they hope it never comes to that. Thanks, Elise. I'm outside Women's Hospital right now where you can get a COVID-19 test. Now, this site changed its hours of operation to now 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to noon. To irrigate the farm, water must go through these blue hoses that eventually connect to those white sprinklers that water the crops. But the more water that goes through these hoses, the higher the water bill. One activity involves just a simple phone call, just to let the veteran know that you're thinking of them. Just a few minutes over the phone could change a life. Now this right here is a 1/3 size scale model of the reactor itself here. This right here is a target. The target is then put into the radiation can, as you can see right here. The can is then sent down into the reactor, and after 1 week of being exposed to neutrons, it is then taken out, where it can treat up to 200 cancer patients. I'm outside of the Boone County Government Center, which does have an electronic voting machine, but some other places don't. This new proposed House bill would require each and every voting location to have one for each and every election. I spoke with someone from the Columbia Center for Urban Agriculture. Now that center provides fruits and vegetables for people in need. That gentleman tells me he hopes surprisingly for more rainy days like today.
Yeah, it was a good break in the dry spell for sure.
For Dustin Cook, today's rain is a positive thing.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a dry late winter, early spring season thus far.
Cook has a small plot of ground at the Columbia Center for Urban Agriculture, and he says the dry conditions the past few months have been rough.
Paying an unforeseen extra few $1,000s in water bills can cut into our budget.
The people who grow crops at the CCUA produce a combined 35 to 40,000 pounds of produce a year. From radishes to rosemary, it all needs water, but that water comes at a price. To irrigate the farm, water must go through these blue hoses that eventually connect to those white sprinklers that water the crops. But the more water that goes through these hoses, the higher the water bill. KOMU8 meteorologist Tim Schmidt says the lack of rain has added up over time.
So every month since November, we've been getting maybe an inch of rain when we should be getting 2 inches of rain. Well, all that adds up over time.
And with that lack of rain, producers like Cook are hoping days like today start to make a difference in growing produce for the weeks ahead. Now, Cook says he hopes for a pickup of rainfall within the next 90 days, and more rain within that time frame would actually prevent him and make it more convenient, so that way he won't have to do irrigation on his own. Reporting live in Columbia, I'm Michael Emami, KOMU8 News. Columbia Regional Airport is getting busier. With the announcement of an additional flight to Dallas-Fort Worth starting April 6th, Columbia will have a total of 5 daily outbound flights. COU announced the decision today via press release.
Yeah, if I'd had another flight, I'd rather go through Dallas than I would Chicago.
Sam Ross, a passenger on a Dallas-bound flight, doesn't travel often.
This is the first time I've flown in 20 years.
But says the headache he experienced this morning could have been avoided.
Well, I was supposed to fly out this morning at 5 a.m. Due to the weather, it got canceled. If they'd had another flight, I could have got out a little sooner. Now I'm going to get into Tampa about midnight.
Ross, like many other passengers, uses Dallas-Fort Worth as a connection flight. And with the use of another flight to Dallas, it gives passengers like Ross options.
Of course, it's one more opportunity, one more connection for people. So if maybe the early morning flight doesn't work out, this one may fit better in their schedule depending on where their final destination is.
Park says passengers are excited with the decision and hopes the burden passengers carry when they fly can be eased.
Welcome back. For 2 years, an accused child killer was out of jail on bond. Quatavia Givens is charged with murder in the death of 4-year-old Darnell Gray.
In a Target 8 investigation, KOMU8's Michael Emami joins us here in the studio, breaking down the workings of a system that allows some people accused of violent crimes to be out while they await trial. Michael.
Givens was rearrested in August of 2021 and was recently denied bond back in March. But back in 2019, when she was facing second-degree murder charges, she was out. Over the course of the last few weeks, I spoke with people who disagreed with Givens being out on bond and people who also came to her defense.
That was a baby, and she have no regards to human life.
In 2019, when Quatavia Givens was facing second-degree murder charges, she was out on bond for 22 months. She has pleaded not guilty to all counts. Previous Judge John Beadham assessed Givens and allowed her release, while current Judge William Hickel likely denied them after charges were upgraded. I spoke with former prosecutor Bill Tackett on this issue. When a judge is making a decision concerning a defendant's release, what's taken into account there?
Well, the Supreme Court came out with a new rule, and it just says that you should consider first, as a judge, a non-monetary condition for release. But if you feel like the old two-pronged approach isn't satisfied, then you can still go ahead and incarcerate them. And that is, are they a threat to the community, and are they a flight risk? And that's really all this comes down to.
While out on pretrial release in 2019, Givens was monitored on GPS via an ankle bracelet. She worked jobs at Wendy's, Taco Bell, Lyft, Instacart, and DoorDash. She was also able to live in an apartment. Nancy Pringer, another member of the group Justice for Darnell Gray, strongly disagreed with Givens being out. She reacted by saying, quote, "She and all criminals, especially those who are violent against children, should never be bailed out," end quote. But defense attorney Justine Finney disagreed, saying bond is a person's right.
I think that's absolutely a person's right. We are, in this country, presumed innocent until proved guilty.
CaseNet reveals other individuals accused of violent crimes being out on bond. Jeffrey McWilliams, facing second-degree murder charges from a 2017 home invasion, posted $50,000 bond. William Nemeth, facing first-degree murder charges stemming from the death of a classmate in 1991, posted $1 million bond. Nemeth was a teenager at the time, and both trials are pending.
People often prejudge the cases. They're often disposed to say, oh, well, this person's been charged with a horrible crime, and therefore they should sit in jail. Well, no, that's not the way the system is supposed to work.
Tackett and Bowman say they both agree the upgraded charges may have affected Hickel's decision, but Tackett says the pretrial release process actually limits the jail population.
If they're wearing an ankle bracelet, and again, they're not a threat to the community, and they're not a flight risk, then this works.
Now, the trial of Quatavia Givens is tentatively scheduled for March of 2023. Now, in addition to first-degree murder, Givens is also charged with abuse or neglect of a child, endangering the welfare of a child, and abandonment of a corpse. For Target 8, I'm Michael Emami, KOMU 8 News.